$21 billion of commercial debt is going to be coming due in 2024. Right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today is the 10th of January, 2024, and why I'm saying that. And apparently $21 billion of CMBS-backed loans are coming due. So this is going to be a very, very interesting situation because obviously $21 billion is a lot of money. And that means that $21 billion worth of commercial mortgage-backed CMBS securities our collateralized loan obligation that is due back in 2024. Now, according to this data, it's not looking great. It's a situation where a lot of these companies have taken out debt on these commercial properties, and so therefore a lot of those loans are going to be coming due. Now, they had incredible interest rates because a lot of these loans were given 3-4 years ago, 2021, 2020, where interest rates were significantly lower. It was where the Fed kept the base rate close to 0%, and that has now increased significantly to the point where a lot of residential loans are about 6.5–7%, and so you can kind of see the difference there, where people were getting 2% up to 7%. You're kind of tripling the amount of mortgage interest that you're paying per year. So these are backed by commercial buildings, usually with fixed income rates. So these companies would have bought these buildings and said, look, this is the tenancy in the building. You know, the bank would have kind of looked at it and underwritten it based on that. And so a lot of that debt apparently is already in trouble. $2.7 billion has been paid off, and that's tied to about 400 properties. 60% of the CMBS and CL loans coming due this year are watchlisted or are already in special servicing. So they're basically saying, look, we can't afford to pay this debt, and it could lead to a foreclosure going on in the future. $250 million worth of loans are delinquent before they have even come due. So that means that before these loans are due, $250 million worth of them are delinquent. So people haven't made the payments up to $250 million on that. Now, this is something I've spoken about on the channel before, where commercial real estate is not looking great. There is a big shift that you've seen where a lot of commercial real estate, especially in these areas of high demand like LA and Orange County, are no longer in demand like they were before. Obviously, the supply has stayed where it is at. These are often these are often office buildings, retail space, where the market has shifted. We had the pandemic, we had a situation where a lot of people started working from home, and that became something that was viable very quickly. And so a lot of companies now are not necessarily looking at the same amount of office space that they would have had demand for previously. It's easy for them to cut back on their costs and increase their profit, or kind of make them, you know, viable to actually stay alive, which I'm seeing quite a lot of businesses are making those cuts just so that they can actually stay profitable or cover their costs in what is looking like a kind of difficult economic situation over the next few years. So a lot of these retail spaces are being replaced by companies like Amazon, where people are not going out and necessarily shopping person to person as they have in previous years, and they're ordering things online. Hence, warehouse spaces are more in need than actual retail spaces, and office spaces, people are working from home or working remotely, maybe coming into the office, you know, 2-3 days a week, not needing a set desk, for instance, where they're actually going to do that. Hence, the square footage that these companies need is significantly lower. So these companies that have refinanced their debt or taken out new loans in 2020 and 2021 because of the interest rates of the Federal Reserve back then are now facing a situation where their payments could balloon to kind of 3 or 4 times what they were needing to pay previously. Now, I think a lot of those buildings are not going to be pulling in the income that these investors have paid for these buildings, you know, basically to service that debt. Apparently there's a situation with Blackstone. They're one of the 6 out of the 10 biggest borrowers for CMBS deals in SoCal, and a lot of their property loans are maturing this year. They have $2.7 billion worth of debt, which is backed by 138 warehouses. Now, with CMBS loans, these mortgages are backed by commercial real estate, which means that if this is a situation where they can't pay the loan. Similarly, the bank can foreclose on the property, take that property themselves and decide what they want to do with it, whether that's hold it, you know, if the income is covering it in some way where it's worthwhile them holding it for a period of time, or to force the sale of that, to turn around and say, right, we're selling this property to get back the money that we've lent on this asset. And so that also could be a weird situation, because as we've spoken about, the supply is now a lot greater than it was in previous years. So the price of these buildings is going to be depreciating, or is going to be lower now than it was 3-4 years ago when they put this loan out. So does the bank lose money on these properties, and where does that leave commercial real estate when you have a flood of properties coming to the market at one time when all of these commercial loans are maturing? So it's going to be an interesting one to watch. Some of these have a fixed interest rate of 3.5%, and that is going to be good, because if you've got a fixed interest rate for a while, then that's fantastic. And if that's that 30-year rate that we often see in residential, which is not as common in commercial, I think that is not going to affect it nearly as much. But a lot of these loans, obviously, as we've said, $21 billion worth are coming due this year. And so I don't know how that's going to look, but I can imagine that is going to get greater and greater over the next 2-3 years. We have seen a slight drop in the Fed's rate, so maybe that continues and we kind of avoid that situation of, you know, more and more foreclosures and these loans maturing where the actual borrowers can't service them. But it's definitely going to be one to watch for. As I always say, I'm going to be tracking this. I'm going to be giving you guys updates. I'd love to know what your thoughts are, if you have a different take on it. I'll be back tomorrow with another video, but I thought that would be an interesting point to let you guys kind of mull over, think about, and actually just give me some feedback on. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you all soon, and have a great day. Bye.